Thanks, guys. We still have about 8 people who have not responded to the poll. If you are not able to see the poll, you can raise the hand. I can see if you have done it. Yeah, yes. Ravi, hi. Are you not able to see the poll, or is it some other question that you would want to ask us? You can unmute and ask us that query, or you can leave a chat. Yeah, Ravi. Yeah, okay.
So, Anand,
Yes, please.
so for Kubernetes administration, you'll cover the you'll give us dumps also for certification.
Now we will go through that. So, this is Shiba, is it?
Yeah, yes,
Shiba,
Shiba.
okay. So a little more clarification on the Certified Kubernetes Administrator Program. This is something which is done by the CNCF, right? CNCF is a global body that does the CKA certification.
Okay.
So the Kubernetes certification program is not something that is like a multiple choice kind of a thing that we would have usually with the Microsoft or Oracle, any of the certification. This is a scenario based training. It
Okay.
demands for it demands for a certain amount of expertise, certain amount of practice. So that is what the program is aimed at. More so from creating competency in all the participants towards Kubernetes, Dockers, and DevOps as a whole. And
Hmm.
second thing is also getting them prepared to the certification program. The
Okay.
certification is done by CNCF, and they give you 2 attempts in one shot. So if you have actually miss out once, none of our participants have actually done that. We've got about roughly around 87% of success so far, around 3,000 people trained, and we've got around 2,600 plus who got certified in the first attempt itself. We don't know the statistics of the other people. Maybe they've got certified, but they've not gotten back to us. Having said that, I think we have considerable amount of responses on the poll. I would just end the polling and then share the details with you all of you. Ravi, are you here online? Is it? Are you able to hear?
I do.
Yeah, thanks, Ravi. So for all the listeners that we have today, the delegates that who are attending, so we have two of our experts who've come in, Ravi and Naresh. Both of them are certified Kubernetes administrators and also Docker certified professionals, and they have been in the databases virtualization industry for almost 15 years now, having started as Linux administrators and all. Thanks Ravi. So I would hand it over to Ravi in a while I share the results. Yeah, so I think hope all of you can see the results of the poll. All of us, if not most of us, are working from home. I would not take much of your time and let you into this webinar. Ravi, you can take it ahead. I'll just mute myself. And guys, we are open for questions while the presentation is going on. Anything that you have, you can leave a chat to us. We'll come back, and obviously at the end of it all, once we explain the things that are insightful and about the program, about DevOps and all, we can obviously open the chats up and have a hatful of talk. Till such time, I would request you to mute yourself.
Welcome everyone. Let me introduce quickly myself. I'm Ravi. I have my colleague Naresh with me. So we both are into IT from last 12 years. We both were colleagues earlier. Now we are into training completely. We worked in various disciplines of IT industry. We worked in Linux administration. We worked as middleware architects. Then we moved to DevOps solution architecture teams. And yes, we both are Docker certified associates. We both are Kubernetes certified administrators. We both completed our certification in Amazon Solutions Architecture. All these things. We deliver many trainings offline, online, and corporate levels team. So we teach to IBM. These are all our monthly trainings like IBM, Optum, Deloitte, HP, Bank of New York, and almost all e-learning platforms nowadays. Yes, we do teach all certification courses. So we are specialists in certification standard courses. We don't teach the course for namesake. Like if you know Docker, you will know it up to certification standard. That's our specialty. So that's where organizations are looking nowadays. So that's where we planned this program. Thanks to Bhaskar for the great introduction. I'll take it from here, team. If you have any questions, you may put in the chat. My colleague Naresh is there. I'm starting the things and he'll end up the things today. So he'll take over in between and he'll be responding to you guys in the chat if you have any. All right. So with this team, let's get started with this picture. I would like to show this picture, everybody. How IT industry changed over the years. Initial days team, developers used to use waterfall model as a development process, and slowly they changed to agile. Currently, the picture is DevOps. Everybody is looking for DevOps nowadays. And the application architectures are moved from monolithic, entire or three-tier architectures, if you heard of. And finally, today we are talking about microservice-based architectures. Earlier, we used to use physical servers to host the applications. Then we moved to VMs, and today we are at containers. Earlier, we used to use our own data centers. Then we started using other data centers or other hosting services. Today, we are going to cloud. Like this team, technology changed a lot. First layer, second layer, third layer, you see clearly. Very few organizations are still working in second. Almost all organizations are transformed, right, into third layer. They are being transformed, the existing also. This is where DevOps has huge market nowadays. Everybody is talking about DevOps. DevOps is a process team that makes all the things simplified for developers and operations people together working. There are many technologies included in DevOps. Today's focus is mainly on containerization, containers, Docker especially, and then Kubernetes. I'll be giving you what is exactly container. I'll be giving you the knowledge on container, why we need containers today, and how Docker has become special, why Kubernetes has come into the picture when Docker is already there, and what makes us to go for Kubernetes certification. All these things I'll give you a complete picture today, team. So with this, earlier days team, we used to use physical servers to host our applications. We used to use physical servers to host our applications. Physical servers are simply saying big fat servers. Big fat servers. A server that has good capacity. Let us say it has around 32 CPU cores, and it has around 350 gigs of RAM. It has around 2 terabytes of disk space, whatever it is, right? Like this, there is a big fat server. You can call it as physical server. Earlier days, our IT teams used to give these physical servers to host the applications. If I would like to host a Java-based application, let me tell you a simple example with a scenario. I would like to host a Java-based application. So usually team, if you have a little bit idea about Java, so the basic Java applications are in these formats, right? It could be a WAR file. It could be a jar file, or it can be an EAR file, whatever it is, whatever the format it may be, team. Suppose you would like to host this WAR file or jar file or EAR file. How to host this is a big question. How to host this? What are all the things I need to host this application? As it is Java based application team, it can be a web application, it can be an enterprise application. So team, when you want to go and host these applications, you need some server technologies like web server or application server, right? The world famous web server, Tomcat. And the same way, you can go for application servers like WebSphere, WebLogic, all these things. Let us take Tomcat example here. I would like to host my application. So to host my application, I need Tomcat. Yes, this is a Java-based application. In order to run your Java-based application, so you need to have Java software also installed. Finally, to run your application, you need Tomcat, you need Java, and you should have the first layer as operating system in order to host all these things. Right? So this is what usually you need, team, to run a very basic application. Of course, it may include some client libraries, it may include some jar files, extra content, whatever it is, that's fine. I'm just focusing on application only. Of course, you need database, networking, all these things. Let's keep them separate. This is what I need to have on my physical server to host a simple Java application. Now team, as I'm telling myself, it is a simple application. It runs on Tomcat. Your Tomcat does not need this much RAM, this much CPU capacity, this much disk space. Tomcat is a simple web server team. At enterprise level also, you can run Tomcat with small amount of RAM. See, 2 GB RAM is enough for Tomcat to run. Maybe you need some more RAM for your operating system activities or for other processes. Altogether, if you collate, maybe 6 to 7 GB RAM or 8 to 10 GB RAM is more than enough to run this application. Why should I give 350 GB RAM? Take CPUs. 2 to 4 CPU cores are more than enough to run this simple application. Why we need 32 CPU cores? And disk space. To be frank, 30 GB disk space is more than enough to run this application, including operating system, all your installations, all the client files, all these things. So team, you don't need this much capacity to run this much simpler application. But earlier days, IT teams used to go for it. Earlier days, IT teams used to go for this. Team, somebody is writing on my screen. Please do not do that. Somebody is drawing something, I think. Please do not do that. Okay. So earlier days team, there were no options. They used to give physical servers only. We used to these only. Here, if you apparently see, we are wasting a lot of resources, which is directly proportional to your organization's money. This is where team organizations thought, okay, what is the next solution? How can we use these resources better? Somebody said, okay, let's run another application on the same machine so that we can use resources better. But we never do that at enterprise level. I hope all of you know team, we never run multiple projects on a same server. We always maintain application isolation or project isolation. One set of servers for one project. That's it. We never go for another application team. If you prepare one set of servers, they are for one project only. So I can't host multiple applications on the same server. Then what to do? How to do? How to reduce this resource wastage? How can I save my organization's money? This is where there was a resolution team that has come called virtualization. There was a revolution that has come called virtualization. I hope you must have heard about virtualization. Maybe at least once in your career team, you must have used some software like this, which you are seeing on my screen. Something, right?
Yeah, aware of virtualization.
Yeah, you may ping in the chat actually. Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. So here team, you must have at least known about this particular software at least once you have seen. What was the basic purpose we went for it? What was the basic purpose? I need to install such software on my machine, right? So team, if you ask me the same question, I would say in my graduation career, 12 years ago, 15 years ago, I wanted to practice Linux on Windows machine. I have Windows laptop. I would like to practice Linux. I can't override my Windows with Linux. I want Windows and Linux together working, so that I want to practice Linux whenever I would like to. That time, the solution I thought of is this one. VirtualBox or VMware, whatever you say team, there are n number of software available. You can install this kind of software on your machine, which is already having some operating system. And then you can install whatever the software you want, whatever the operating system you want. See, I'm using Mac OS team. My OS is Mac. It has around 8 GB RAM. It has around 128 gigs of disk space. I installed some software like this, and then I gave 3.5 GB RAM to this machine, and I assigned around 20 GB disk space to this machine. Means, if I run this machine, it shares the resources of my Mac machine, I mean to say my laptop, and it also runs alongside of my Mac OS. So two operating systems I can run parallelly on a single machine. So one operating system has its own resources, its own directory structure. The second operating system has its own resources and its own directory structure. This is called virtualization team. So the one big machine, whatever you have, you can make into pieces. You can make into pieces. I mean to say smaller machines. Each piece is called as a virtual machine. Each virtual machine can have its own OS. One may have Windows, one may have Ubuntu, one may have something called Red Hat, whatever it is, doesn't matter. Here you can run some Node.js application. Here on Windows, you may run .NET based application. Here on Ubuntu, you may run some Java based application. It's up to you. Whatever you want, you can run. At the end of the day, it has its own IP addresses. It has its own networking. It is altogether isolated, all the way isolated from another machine. If this machine is down, it doesn't get impacted. It will not be impacted. It runs its own application. Like this team, one big machine, we started making into smaller machines. Each machine is called as a VM, virtual machine, simply saying. And how we separated these? What is the measurement Ravi has taken to separate these, right? The measurement I have taken here, if you observe team, the first one is RAM, memory of the system. The second one is disk space, disk of the system. So simply saying team, I took my hardware into the consideration and I made this virtualization happen. So this is purely hardware level virtualization. When I installed some software called Oracle VM VirtualBox Manager or VMware, VM Player, there are many VirtualBox softwares available team online. You can take them out. These are called hypervisors. These are called as hypervisors. So you need to install a hypervisor software on a big machine so that it enables virtualization feature. Once virtualization is enabled, you can create as many virtual machines as you want, depending upon your machine capacity. This is simply virtualization team. On the high end, I'm not going in deep team. In deep, we will go during the classes. Here, I'm just giving you top level picture. When we go like virtualization, yes, n number of applications I can run, resources I can utilize maximum. But the problem here is team, here if I assign, okay, hey Windows machine, take 20 GB RAM and 100 GB hard disk. This is what I assigned for my Windows machine. It should use only that much capacity. It should not extend when it wants. Suppose you are given a room of 12 by 14 size, right? Suppose there are more people in the room. You can't move the wall, right? So this is restricted. This is hardly given like, hey, you should use 20 GB RAM. That's it. It cannot extend its memory automatically if it needs really. Suppose more users are coming towards your application. It needs more RAM. Maybe more files are getting written. It needs more disk space. No, it could not extend automatically. The result will be your application or your system will be in hung state. This is where team sometimes you see machine is hung, lack of memory, CPU starvation. These kind of things we hear very often who are working in infrastructure standpoint, right? This is the disadvantage of virtualization team. The resources, whatever you assign, they are standard. And then if you want to start your virtual machine, it takes minimum 2 to 5 minutes for you to start, to come up and running, to accept your request. So here boot time is very, very important point to consider. 2 to 5 minutes may be good if you think normally. Imagine you are in an outage situation. You are in a critical situation where your client is counting every minute to take his SLA money and all. In that case, I want my application to be up and running quickly. This is one more thing. And then when we go with VMs, right, the operating system, whatever you install inside a VM, that is completely full-blown operating system. That is complete operating system or full-blown operating system, like how we install our desktops or laptops, right? So that is full operating system. Each VM needs a complete operating system. And more importantly, now we are in technology world. Everybody is talking about scaling up, scaling down, auto scaling, blah, 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 right? If you want to scale up your infrastructure with VMs, imagine how much time it takes. Suppose I want to add 2 more new VMs to my capacity because I am expecting more user requests. You need to raise a request. Your manager has to approve. He will ask you business reason. He'll ask you definitely, hey, show me statistics. Why should I approve your request? Then you need to write the graphs. You need to prepare the presentations with the last year, numbers and all. Once he approves, it goes to VM team. Their manager should approve. Then procurement approvals, financial approvals. Finally, VM comes to you. Then you need to install operating system. You need to install your Java application, everything. Once it is done, the story is not end yet, right? You need to give it to QA team. They should test it. Then you add to the existing infrastructure. Then you perform something called high availability test, how it is behaving with old servers. All these things you need to check. So it takes a lot of time. So the developer has to wait to send his new feature, for your particular scalability. This is one of the big headaches of VM. Actually, you can't take a VM ready in seconds with all the configuration you need. So these are all the challenges we have, team. But of course, yes, VM was like a revolution in the world, team. Overnight, things are changed. Many organizations used VMs. Still, they are using VMs. I am also using VMs. But there are options for us. This is where, team, people look for next option called containers or containerization. Before going to containerization, let me ask you a simple thing. Imagine this is your development environment. This is your production environment. I hope everybody of you know about development, IAT, production, QA environments. I'm not talking about them. We often hear a word called application is working in development environment and application is not working in production environment. What might be the reason why we hear that? Because we use the same code, whatever given by developer. Why do we face the issues in production where it absolutely works fine in developer laptop? Why? Everybody of us must have heard about this issue at least once, team. At least once, right? So here, team, what is that lacking us to go with this, right? If you take developer machine, team, they use 100% Windows based operating systems. They use Eclipse and all. They use some test servers configured with Eclipse to test their source code. And finally, they prepare the application saying application is working fine. But if you think of your production environment, we never use Windows in production, right? We always try to use, suppose I am using some SUSE Linux in my production. I use Java Enterprise 1.8 and then I use some WebSphere or Tomcat, which is properly tested, Enterprise Edition, no test servers here. And then I borrow the same WAR file given by developer. See here, the picture is completely different. That's why it works there. It will not work here. Then what to do? How to do? Earlier days, team, this was the picture. Thanks to DevOps. With DevOps, right? We started using various technologies. We started interacting with people. Developers started working with operations guys, and operation guys started getting the information from developers. They come to a conclusion. Okay, hey developer, don't tell me application is working fine on your laptop. Let us set up something which is relevant to my production environment. Okay, so let us set up SUSE here. Let us set up whatever the Java I use in production. Let us set up the application server or web server I use in my production environment. Now put your WAR file here. If it is working fine here, then only tell me application is working fine, or don't tell me application is working fine. Don't simply test the application on your laptop and tell me application is working absolutely fine. Here, test here, work here. SUSE is an operating system, Yashashvi. SUSE is an operating system. CentOS, Red Hat, SUSE Linux, Ubuntu, any Linux operating system you may think of. Once you understand like this, team, so your developer has to test the WAR file here. He may miss one or two libraries which are loaded to Eclipse. He may miss one or two support files he may configure on his laptop. So these things These things he should rectify and he should make sure it is working here. Then, okay, this is final phase where my application is working absolutely fine. Now I can go and host it in my production environment so that end user can access this application. The real question comes here, team. The real question comes here, how to host it in production environment. Imagine I have 100 servers in my production environment. Imagine I have 100 servers like this in my production environment. How to host this application in my production environment? So team, when you go to production level, it is very difficult for you. So you need to go and install SUSE on all the machines. You need to install Java on all the machines. You need to install your web server or application server on all the machines. Then you need to copy the WAR file on all the machines. This is the only solution we know. This is how we used to do in organizations, team. You have to go and install each and every piece in each and every machine. So it takes a lot of time. Here and there you may miss one or two pieces to install. It's a hectic process again. It is a hectic process again, right? So this is where, team, people got an idea. Before this idea, let me ask you a simple question. Let me give you two scenarios. You joined a new organization, so that IT teams come to you and they give you a new laptop or a new desktop. In that new desktop, they install operating system, they install MS Office. If you need any extra software as part of that team, so they install whatever the client utilities or software you need on that machine and they keep it ready for you. So you can go and access. The same way, there may be n number of people joining that day. So they need to prepare each and every desktop with all these utilities. Option 1, they have to sit in front of each and every desktop. They have to install OS, they have to install MS Office software, they have to install XYZ software, like that. Option 2, prepare a ghost image where it contains operating system, MS Office, client utilities, everything together, and just run that ghost image on every laptop. Which option you opt out, team? Option 1 or option 2? You may ping in the chat. Option 1 or option 2? Which one you do go with? Let me see if anybody of you tell me option 1. Okay. So ideally, team, we should always go with option 2, where it reduces the difficulty, right? And the IT teams don't miss any software if they prepare all together as a single package, right? The same thing let's apply here in this picture. Why to install SUSE on every machine? Why to install Java on every machine? Why to install WebSphere and WebLogic on every machine? Why to copy WAR file to every machine? Why can't I package this as an image? Why can't I package this as an image? And why can't I run on the machine directly? Why can't run on the machine directly so that it runs the application happily and easily, quickly? I don't need to go to each and every machine, install every piece separately. Yes, team, this is where the new concept, containerization has come into the picture. So here you take a machine, the same physical server, whatever we discussed, take that machine and whatever the package you created, just paste on the machine, run on the machine. That's it. When you create that package, it is called image. When you run on this system, that is called container. So you may ask me, Ravi, the content is same there and here. Why are you calling it as package and why are you calling it as container? How does it differ? Right? So team, here, the first point you need to understand, the same content is there in image and container, but container is the runtime entity. I'll tell you a simple example, team. You have a car, you kept it in parking state. It is at your parking. Now you are on road on your 4th gear. your car features will not vary. Your car has same seats, same steering, same brakes, everything same. But what is changing here? What is changing here? Your engine is in motion. Earlier, your engine was sleeping, right? The content is same. The state is different. Here also, team, the content is same. When you run it as a container, the container contains some software inside, right? Like your WebSphere or Tomcat or some Node.js, whatever it is. That process runs. That process initiates. This is where your container serves the end user. Image is a packaging team. It is like parking car. Container is like running car. So running car serves your purpose. You can go. Image, no. The same way, container serves the end user so that end user can access the application. Like this team, container comes into the picture. Okay. Earlier we installed something called hypervisor to host VMs. What we need to install to host containers? This is where team containerization software come into the picture. You should have OS as it is. On top of OS, you need to install something called as containerization software. Containerization software. What is this containerization software? There are many containerization softwares available in industry team. LXC, LXD, RKT, Rocket we call it as, Cryo. There are many other container D. There are many other containerization softwares available. But out of them, the famous one that makes containerization easy is Docker. Docker is the software team that made containerization very easy for people. So in order to run our containers, we should have some operating system. On top of it, Docker should be installed. That's it. That's what you need. You don't need anything else. You can happily run your container. You may ask me, Ravi, we have operating system here and again operating system here. Why two operating systems? Team, this operating system is a full-blown operating system with all the features, whereas this is a minimal operating system, small operating system just to run that particular application. It doesn't have all the features. This is minimal. How it becomes minimal and all we will discuss during the course, team. For now, to give you big picture, this is how containers come into the picture. You may ask me, Ravi, this also looks like this one, but what's the difference? Team, here for containers, there is no limit for memory and access. If this container needs 50 MB, it can use 50. If it wants 100, it can use 100. First point, dynamic allocation of resources. If I want to scale up the infrastructure, I have the image already. Just run another container. You know what, team? Your container takes just 2 seconds to run, whereas VM takes 4 to 5 minutes to come up completely. Startup time is less. Dynamic allocation of resources. No OS maintenance here because they maintain lightweight operating systems without kernels. These are all technical things of containers, team. You will come to know in the classes. Here I am not discussing all of them. This is how team people started using containers. The main advantage, once I prepare the image, whether I run this image in my system or your system, in client system or production server, the behavior doesn't vary because the application uses same Java, same server, same operating system. The behavior of the image does not vary from environment to environment, and you never see a sentence like application is working here and not working there. This is the purpose of containerization, team. This is how people started using containers, right? If you want to ship these goods, earlier days, we used to think, okay, should I send by bus? Should I send by train and all? Then later, people started using this container concept. They put all these goods here in this container. They just ship this container. The same logic, if you adopt to IT industry, if you want to install your Python, if you want to install some library, if you want to install some application, earlier days, we used to install individually on each and every machine. Nowadays, no. Put everything inside a container and ship the container. That is easy for IT people. That is easy for DevOps people to quickly send their applications to multiple environments. This is where containerization has come into the picture, team. Docker is the best technology I have seen so far. We have been using, me and Naresh were colleagues actually. We've been using Docker, since 2016. So we explored Docker end to end actually. Docker made containerization easy for everybody. Okay, containerization is done. Okay, Docker is one of the best tools for running containers. Docker provides a platform to run your containerization applications. Docker helps you to create your images. Docker helps you to run your applications. It allows dynamic allocation of resources to your containers. All these things Docker provides. Then why Kubernetes? Why people are thinking about Kubernetes? That is also something related to containers, right? So team, when you are an individual person, you can take care of your management. I mean to say, imagine there is a new project. You are the only person in the project. You take care of your leave management, you take care of your work, ticket management, all these things. Suppose there are 10 people joined your team. When there are n number of people, everybody cannot take their own decisions. Everybody cannot go with their own decisions, right? There should be some management. There should be some management to organize these guys. There should be some management to take care of these guys. So manager takes care of assigning the work to people. He gets the new projects. He takes care of leave management. Okay, Ravi is on leave today. Let's assign this work to Naresh today. Ravi will be leaving after 8 o'clock. Okay, let's Naresh to take up next. This is how team workload management, if they want to go to next version, if they want more solutions, they have to add more people into the team, and manager monitors the performance of everybody, right? This is a typical manager role you see in IT management. Why can't my containers have management? Because you don't run your applications on a single machine at enterprise level, team. You don't run your applications on a single machine. For fault tolerance, high availability, load balancing reasons, we run our applications on multiple machines. Imagine I am running my containers on 100 machines. Then how to manage these 100 machines? If I want to run a container, to which machine should I go? What is the best machine to run my container? All these things come to my mind, obviously. This is where I look for some management solution. I look for some orchestration solution. This is where team container orchestration comes into the picture. So if you want to deploy a container, if you want to run a container, if there are multiple machines, which node suits this container requirement? Suppose this container needs 10 GB. What machine has 10 GB free? And what is the desired state? How many containers Ravi want to run? 100. Okay. Suppose one is down because of some reason. Next one should come up automatically, auto healing. How to share the workload on n number of containers? How to share workload on n number of containers? How to scale up more containers if I want more capacity? How to set up auto scaling depending upon user request? How should my containers increase automatically? I want to deploy newer version without downtime to the end user. How to deploy newer applications to the environments? How to establish the communication between all these containers if my application wants to talk to DB? How to provide access to end users to manage these containers? This is all management. This is all called management. Technically speaking, this is all called container orchestration. To manage your containers on various servers, right? Container orchestration comes into the picture. This is where there are many container orchestration tools. Docker itself has something called Docker Swarm. Docker Swarm is one of the good or one of the best container management or orchestration tools, team. We use Docker Swarm for around 3000 plus containers. It works absolutely fine. Nowadays, the focus is shifted to Kubernetes. Many people are talking about Kubernetes. Of course, being open source, one advantage. And nowadays, people are looking for zero downtime deployments, auto scaling features and all. This is where Kubernetes shows its mark. That's why, team, for container orchestration, people are moving towards Kubernetes. People are moving towards Kubernetes. Kubernetes is container orchestration tool team. It is not containerization tool. It cannot create a container. It cannot create an image. It can just manage the containers. It's just like a manager in our organization team. He will not work on the client tickets. He will not log in and monitor your servers. He will manage you guys. So you are the people who work on the tasks, right? So containerization means creating containers, creating images. Container orchestration means managing the created containers. So Kubernetes is container orchestration tool. So it needs one containerization tool to help it. That's why people use Docker as containerization tool to manage those containers. They use Kubernetes as container orchestration tool. This is where Kubernetes started its market team. Why containers? Because nowadays team, everybody want to move to microservices. Everybody want to run their applications fastly, quickly. Continuous integration, continuous delivery has become a fashion today. Almost every organization is looking for it. That's where DevOps has a lot of boom nowadays, right? Containers play a vital role here to manage the applications. If you want to go for CI/CD, I want to quickly bring my applications in seconds. No VM can bring your application up in seconds. Only container can do. That's where people are using Docker and Kubernetes to manage their deployments, to host their applications, to make them available quickly and easily to the end users. This is where containers have come. And team, Kubernetes, one of the best orchestration tools I have worked with, right? If you use Kubernetes, it can take care of your deployments health. Suppose I run 10 containers. One is down because of some reason. One machine is down because of some reason. It can bring up those containers automatically on other machine available. So that's the capacity of Kubernetes. That's where people are running after Kubernetes like anything. And we are suggesting certification team because as per a survey, microservice adoption is going fast in industry. More organizations, right? They are being transformed into microservices based architecture from traditional applications. This is where people started using containers more. This is where people are also looking for container orchestrators like Kubernetes and Docker. And when they are going for orchestrators, they are preferring certified people. So there are few projects I know, they are looking for only certified people. So they look for certification. Certification, they mark it as a standard actually. This is the standard we want to maintain. If he is Kubernetes certified, then only I'll take him. If he is Docker certified, then only I'll take him. This is how they are saying nowadays. That's why team, we are encouraging people, right? Not only to learning anybody can learn here and there. You have to prove your learning with certification. That's where team Kubernetes has its boom. For next few years, at least 5 years, Docker and Kubernetes will rule market. Nowadays, people got awareness about containerization, certifications and all. Next 5 years, these Docker and Kubernetes replace all the web servers, application servers, which we were using to run our applications. Everything is being transformed to microservices. That is where containers are going to rule the world. So that's why team, containers are essential. Certification is also essential. So I'll stop here team. I'll ask Naresh to take over here. So Naresh will explain you now what is Kubernetes certification, what we provide as part of this course, how you will be participating in the classes, how you learn, how you practice during the classes. Naresh, you can take over by unmuting.
Okay, thank you, Ravi. This is Naresh. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much, Ravi, for the great explanation about the containers. Right. So here, team, I think we can continue here. So will you provide certification or technology? We provide the technology, Balaji. Means we just enable you to pass or make yourself comfortable in writing the certification exams. We are not the one who are providing the Kubernetes certification. A CNCF is an open source community or organization who provides the certification for this Kubernetes. You have to register yourself with them, and then you need to do it accordingly. Okay. I hope you got the idea. I think Bhaskar, can you make me a host so that I can share my screen quickly?
You are the host,
I am
Yashashri.
on the host. Okay, so let me start sharing it, I believe. So yeah, okay, great. So let me share my screen, team. I think I can show you quickly a couple of things maybe where we do it. As technology
I
guys, we
think
are.
sorry, Naresh. So I think we have a few hands, Sid and Vanilla. Maybe
Mhm.
you have a question. So Sid, maybe you can just unmute yourself.
Yes, sir.
Sure.
Sir, I have two questions. First is I'm from an administrative background and I have no idea about coding. So,
Mhm.
uh, will this help me, or is it coding is mandatory?
See, if you're talking about application development, no, it is not about the development basically. The DevOps or the Kubernetes or whatever it may be, once after the development is over, we take the code which is done by the developer and we containerize the application. So there is no part of coding here. So coding is absolutely not required. You just need to have an idea, just like you have an administrator right now. You just need to know how to administer your entire infrastructure or servers. That's all about it.
And the second question is, you talk about Dockers. Being a Kubernetes administrator, I should know Docker also, right?
Yes, because underlying technology for containers is that containerization is a technology. Docker is the containerization technology, right? And underneath Kubernetes, Docker is the one which runs actually so far. In order to work with Kubernetes, Docker is a mandatory one. So you must have enough knowledge on the Docker first of all. Then only you can go for the Kubernetes. Otherwise, it's not. You cannot learn the Kubernetes all alone. That is not possible.
So, is there any another certification for Docker?
Yes, Docker do has its own another certification which is called as Docker Certified Associate. If you want to excel in Docker, and then you can go on certification that one also. But right now, even if you write a Docker certification, in the Docker certification exam itself, you have Kubernetes involved in it. So there is a 30 to 40% of the Kubernetes questions are asked within the Docker certification exam. So we suggest that you go for Kubernetes, which covers both of them. That will be the way you can go for it accordingly.
Okay. And
So
one more question, sir. Sir, you have mentioned Ansible, Chef, and Puppet uses 6%. So why we are comparing Docker, Kubernetes, and Ansible? This is completely separate thing.
correct. No, see, let's say that first of all, right? In order to prepare your infrastructure, we still need the configuration management tools such as, the Ansible, Chef, or Puppet. Let's say that I want to have in my production there are 100 servers, right? Before I run my containers, first of all, I need to set up my infrastructure ready to run my containers, such as Kubernetes cluster need to be created or Docker need to be installed across 100 servers. Then how would I do that, right? In
Yes.
such cases, you still need the configuration management to set up the underlying infrastructure. Then once the infrastructure is ready to run your containers, then we use container orchestration to run your application containers across the cluster or across 100 machines, which will help you manage your containers accordingly. That is the reason we
So for
say
that we use Ansible, right?
no, 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 no. Container orchestration can be done with only container orchestrators. You cannot manage your containers with the configuration management tools. That is not possible. Okay.
Okay.
There are differences, lot of differences how you manage your containers with container orchestration. That is what it is. Basic Ansible or configuration management tools just help you to run them, but they don't manage the container. They just say that, okay, I deploy 100 containers. If you say that deploy it will deploy, but it doesn't manage them accordingly. But whereas container orchestration deploys it as well as manages them across the cluster.
So you mean to say with the help of Ansible playbook, I can only deploy 100 containers. That's it.
That's it. That's all you can do it, but it cannot manage it. Once it is deployed, it says that my job is over. But
Okay.
there are a lot of things that you need to do it, like as Ravi told just before, right? Which node suits my container where it has to run it? In case of, if my container is failed for some reason, who will bring it up automatically again? Now, these are such as auto filling features, maintaining the desired state. These are all the things which are taken care by your container orchestration solutions, not the configuration management tools. Okay.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Hi, Chris.
So Yashashvi has a question, I think, Naresh. She is asking, is Linux knowledge required for this course? Or is Linux covered if you don't know it?
Linux knowledge is mandatory. I'll say it. It's not required. It's just a mandatory thing before you start with it, because whatever the tools like Docker is based on Linux completely, or Docker is developed based on the Linux fundamentals. So you must have the basic Linux knowledge. We can guide you to do it, but you have to practice it yourself, Shasvi, I believe. So means we cannot cover in the course like we have to teach the Linux. No, we don't teach the Linux, but we'll give you enough guidance with which you can get started with it, and you have to practice it yourself and make yourself comfortable on the Linux account.
Shiba has a question.
Yeah.
Shiba, please go ahead.
So you will be providing like dumps for certification or?
See, coming to the exam, guys, again, I'm telling you, this is not like a MCQ where you can remember the, if I give you a dumps, you remember the answer and you go and put it. It's not like that, basically. It is completely a scenario based exam, which means that they will give you a cluster, or they will give you the servers. Basically, they will give you a scenario. They will ask you to execute that, and then you have to show them the results, right? Now that's how the exam goes. There will be only 24 scenarios in the exam. The exam duration is 3 hours, basically 180 minutes you get it. Within that 3 hours, you need to complete all those 24 scenarios. You need to execute the scenarios live. And likewise, you just work on your system every day, right? You just have to run them. They will give you all the servers with a cluster setup. Everything is there. They will give you the scenario. You need to run the scenario. I will give you, or we will give you enough scenarios for you to, prepare for your exam. But I want to say that we will give you the exact questions that comes in your exam. That is not the scenario. We give you enough scenarios. We give you around 200 to 300 scenarios. If you practice them enough, we will bet that you're going to crack your exam in first attempt itself. You need to understand those things. That's it.
And you will be covering only Docker and Kubernetes. That's it, right?
Yes, that's what it is. This is the course about it, right? Okay.
Naresh,
Yeah.
Suraj here.
Yes, Suraj, tell me.
Well, I have a couple of questions. I'm from a database background. Having from SAP, this thing. Having experience around about 13 years, but 2 to 3 years into database administrator.
Mhm.
Now I have a question here. As far as my understanding goes, when you go for any Kubernetes or Docker containerization certificate, is it a prerequisite that one has to know the cloud concept of it? Because everything, when we talk about Docker or Kubernetes or EC2 or any other this thing, Puppet, maybe anything, when we talk about DevOps engineering, it's basically something related to development as well as operations, right?
Correct.
So when we talk about this Kubernetes and Docker, now Docker, if I'm not mistaken, it's something related to Microsoft. It's a Microsoft product, and Kubernetes is, it's something related to AWS, I believe. So is it mandatory for one to get certified into AWS, then go
No.
for Kubernetes or Docker, or
Okay, first of all,
yeah.
let me tell you, right? First of all, Docker is not a Microsoft product, okay? It is a separate organization. Earlier, it was used to be a Docker organization, altogether separate. But
Okay.
recently, the Docker was acquired by a company called as Mirantis. Now it is owned by Mirantis, basically. That's what it is. And when it comes to the Kubernetes is an open source project which is developed by the Google, okay? It is not occupied by anybody. It is not a licensed product or something. Kubernetes is completely open source, and it is managed by the open source community, which is called as CNCF, Cloud Native Computing Foundation. They are the one who maintains this Kubernetes, first of all. And in order to learn these two technologies, I'm telling you, there is no cloud knowledge is required. Means that these things can be set up on your premise without any cloud also. But people being nowadays, we are in the world of cloud technology. People prefer to deploy these tools within the cloud also. So these are flexible enough to run on your premise, or on your premise within your own data center, or these tools can be run in the cloud technologies also. How your organization chooses, basically based on that, you need to proceed accordingly. If your organization chooses to deploy your Kubernetes cluster within the AWS cloud, then you must know a basic of AWS services. How do you deploy it, and all those things. But it is not a dependency, basically depends on the flow that you need to do it accordingly. Okay.
No issues. Thank you.
Sure. So can you deploy containers to 100 servers in production using? Yes, you can even deploy to 1,000 servers also, Chetan. That is even possible. What about the job assistance? I think Anant can. So, please share what prerequisite are need with respect to the course. Let it be AWS knowledge or Linux or other knowledge is required. We say that we just need the Linux basic knowledge for this course to get started, right? That is the only prerequisite we say it. Along with that, during the course, we'll help you how to get a Linux service through a cloud called as Google Cloud. We will assist you that one, and we'll kickstart with a very basic thing like how to install the tools, how to work with the tools. Everything is documented, like you see it on my screen right now. There is a big repository of, we maintain it. This is completely, we'll give it every instruction that you're gonna run it. You're going to run it along with us. Along with that, we also provide the documentation for every instruction that you do it. So you can have a copy of this one. You can run it later also. In this, you have every instruction that you see it on my screen right now. This is kind of a repository we'll share with everybody beforehand, before you, once you register for the course. You will have all the documentation prior to start the course itself. You can go through the documentation. You have enough knowledge. You can go through this and you can do it according to yourself. Okay. Is there anything? What job role can I hit? I'm sorry if you're speaking, somebody. Your voice is very low. I think you need to put your microphone together nearby your mouth. Okay, so what job role can I get after this course certification? What CTC can I expect? See, the CTC and all you depends on your knowledge and experience, Yashasvi. So I'm telling you that if you are good enough knowledge, around 6 to 7 years, you will get easily the double CTC for sure. That is what I can tell you. That is how the market demand is right now, but I don't guarantee that. Definitely depends on the organization. They may vary the CTC, but there is a minimum CTC that you will get it based on your experience. And there are many roles. We have it as a DevOps engineer, Docker certified associate Docker engineers, or Kubernetes administrator itself is a big role. Basically, you have it in the market. There are many organizations who are looking for a skill on the Kubernetes, right? If you are having a minimum of 2 to 3 years of experience in Kubernetes, or you can claim that you have it, if you can prove it, then you will definitely get a job immediately once you put your resume in the market. That's what we can suggest it, or that's how it goes out here.
One question, if you don't mind, Naresh. I mean, when you say basic Linux knowledge, I mean, what context are you talking about? Like listing some basic Linux command, or it's related to RHCSA? What exactly are we talking about?
Okay, first of all, you need to know what is how do you log into a Linux system, and then basic operations, just copy, move, directory creations, and then what type of a directory structure you have in the basic operating system. Then how do you install something on a system, or how do you check the processes that are running on the system, right? These are the basic knowledge, like what are all the things that you do at a regular day-to-day basis. If you have that much knowledge, that's good enough. And then as we go on with the course, we will tell you all those processes, what they run, how to validate it. In case of some issues, you need to have a knowledge on how to check the log files, right? Open a log file and then check the logs accordingly. So this is the minimum knowledge that we call it accordingly, right? When you go for advanced, then it's called as Linux administration. That is not required. If you have it, that's an advantage. But if you are going through again, as we go on with the course, we'll tell you whatever is necessary. But to get started with it, the basic knowledge of how to log into a Linux system, what are the various basic commands or regular day-to-day operations that you do it, checking files, creating directories, how to switch between directories, how to check a running process, right? How do I access an application that is running in a machine? So these are the basic minimum knowledge that you needed before you go with that. That's it.
Okay, like you said, you'll be also sharing, those who are freshers, right? Who are not aware of Linux.
I'll share the documentation for as I told, like I'll give you the documentation. I have a good documentation with me anyway. I'll give you, if you go to my repository, you even find about the Linux or things. So I'll share all the Linux commands, what you need to do it before you come to the session. We will do that. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure. So would it be to shift career from a prod support to DevOps, because I'm prod support analyst and investment banking? That's definitely going to help you, Ashish, because in the market right now, as a DevOps engineer, you need to focus on multiple areas for sure. As a production support, That will be a minimum role, but when you switch over to the DevOps, you may extend yourself, or you can secure your job also most of the time in your organization. That's what I can tell you. Yep. Yes, Deepu, go ahead. What is your question?
One quick question, so I hope this certification is provided by CNCF, right? Cloud
Correct.
Native Cloud Foundation, right?
Correct.
So, what is it? How can I register for the exam? Like, is it through you, or should I need to?
You can register it directly. You can register it directly on the CNCF website. You can go to the cncf.co.in. You can or .com basically. You can go there, and they will give you the necessary guidelines to register it.
So
If you want some help, we can also help you. That's also we can do it. And
okay. So, is there any like exam centers like VUE or Prometric or something like that? Do we need to go through them, or I can directly?
No, it is like it's a proctor based. We call it. You can sit at your home, and there will be an online. You will open your cam, and then there is a person who is watching you on the line online, and you have to sit at your home and you can write your exam. You don't need to go for any Prometric or kind of stuff. It's just called as proctor based. So whenever you are watching or when you're doing your exam, they will examine your entire room first of all, and they will let you sit it, and you should not move from your seat until you finish the exam. That is the conditions. They will talk to you anyway while you're writing the exam again. Okay.
So
it's called proctor based. 3 hours.
Oh, okay. So in day 3 hours, I should stay in front of the cam till I finish.
You should not move from your system. That's it. The cam will be there. They will say that you have to be visible in the cam for up till 3 hours. You cannot move here and there.
Yeah. Thanks, Naresh.
Okay. So is CKD and Docker works on production or development? What is CKD here, Ravi? You mean that CKAD, which is Certified Kubernetes Administrator Developer? Is that what you're asking about it? So would it be possible to shift a career? I think I asked it. Okay, there is something you're missing.
Yeah. I think instead of CKA, he might have mentioned.
Okay, the CK. Yeah, that is correct. I think Ravi, right? It's called as CKAD is something and comes under the CKA. If you learn the CKA or if you prepare for the CKA, basically it's an administration. On the developer endpoint, they have their own couple of topics will be covered. So in our CKA, we will be covering entire CKAT practices also, what you need to be aware of. So if you go for CKA, you can finish up the CKAD also. That we can tell you. Okay, so will you provide the material like soft copy, and what about the course duration? Could you please explain how we need to practice it? Okay, so Balaji, yes, we will provide the soft copy entirely, and we'll guide you to how to practice or how to get the VMs to practice everything. We will guide you everything on it, right? And the duration of the course is that we are planning for 30 hours mostly, right? 30 hours is the duration of the course, with which you will come to know all the topics or all the concepts of Kubernetes very clearly, and you will practice along with us during the session. Okay. The certification cost is $300, which is for 2 attempts. That's correct. Is complete AWS DevOps knowledge is required, or DevOps knowledge is required? See, the basic is required, Yashasvi here. No AWS is required by default. That's what we're telling you. AWS is if you want to know about the cloud, then you can learn the AWS.
I think Naresh, there is I've been speaking to a lot of interested people since the last 1 week on the CK program. This is a very interesting question. Most of them have asked. I think there is a little misnomer or a little misconnection among most of the users, confusion with cloud computing and DevOps. Most of them think that we need to know cloud to get into DevOps or vice versa. One little clarification here is actually both of them are quite independent. They work together because of the virtualized scenario that we are living in. But it is not necessary that we need to know cloud to get into DevOps, or you need to know DevOps to get into cloud. So the question when I saw, I thought I'll jump in and answer. So many of them asked, okay, we are learning DevOps, but we don't know cloud or we don't know AWS. So that is not a mandatory thing. I think they're independent, but yes, to accentuate your careers or rapidly increase the pace at which we want to grow into this cloud and virtualization, yes, one of the cloud platforms might be required, not mandatorily or compulsorily, but might be required, but not necessary. Yeah, you can go on.
Yeah, thank you, Bhaskar. Yeah, that's absolutely correct. Okay. So yeah, are there any other questions, team, that you are coming around so we can answer them, or anything that whatever we're showing is right now, like whatever we do it will guide you through what you need to do it exactly throughout the course. We'll guide you to do what you need to do it. We'll give you all the soft copy of the instruction, everything what you needed beforehand itself. You can walk through that and you can practice throughout the day, or whenever you have some time, you can go ahead and practice it accordingly. Yes, everybody, sir. Are AWS, Azure, Google can run Docker and Kubernetes? Absolutely right. Absolutely, they can run Yashasvi. That's what we're talking about it. Kubernetes can be, or Docker can be deployed on within your data center, or you can go ahead and then deploy it in the cloud also. It depends on your organization where they want to deploy it accordingly. Any demo exam before CK exam? Okay. So I think we will help you execute the scenarios, throughout the sessions itself. So whatever the scenarios that we'll be walking through throughout the course, the same thing you can consider it, or we'll give you another set of scenarios which you can practice it yourself. You can write yourself on your whatever it may be. Later we'll provide the solutions also for it. Whatever you do it, consider that we'll give you some examples or scenarios. You can execute them. You can send it back to us, maybe, or we will give you the solutions for you accordingly once you're done with your things. Right? Okay, I think Chef Mir, I believe that's what it is. No specific is required here, Yashasvi. Not anything specific. It is flexible enough to deploy anywhere. So you have to use it according to your requirement. That's it. Okay. So any other questions, team, that you have it, you want us to answer? I think you all have a good idea now, team, what exactly is containers, or why do we need the containers, or what is container orchestration, or how Kubernetes is helping you to container orchestration, and which is the very demand skill right now in the market, team. And this is a mandatory skill going forth, as Ravi said. Next couple of years, or up till 5 years, at least 2025, you will see that every organization in the market or in the world, they will try to adopt the containers, and everybody needs this container orchestration. As we go on, we learn along also, but this is what the boom is started right now. And this is the right time for you to learn about the containers as well as the container orchestration. That's what we suggest to go for it.
Yeah, so Ashish, thanks. So
Yeah.
where in market India on this technology? Is it South India? So it's a question from Ravi Kiran saying which companies use Dockers and Kubernetes. So
Yes,
I think you would want to answer that.
yeah. So there is almost every top organization, you see it right now. Google started this containers team because Kubernetes was a Google itself, a Google product itself. Before even we got into this one, Google was using containers for all over last decade. Entire your Gmail, whatever you use it, is running on the containers itself completely. Now every organization, which I mean to say that every top organization such as Microsoft or Salesforce, you take it, or anything like ADP, or whatever the top organization you think about it, everybody adopted the containers already. Whatever the top organization that you see it in the list in the market, Cognizant, if you come to this one, right, whatever it is, CTC or any organization team, they're all adopted the containers.
So
People or the organizations struggling to get the Kubernetes skill basically in the US market, or global market is having a lot of lack in that Kubernetes skill. People are looking for it. If you are trying to learn as soon as possible, I think you can get into the market as soon as possible. That's what I can tell you.
And Naresh, the trainers for this course will be yourself and
Ravi.
Ravi, right?
Right.
Thank
Myself and Ravi. We both are going to take the course completely. Okay. So what if not there no certification, have good knowledge on Docker and Kubernetes, will companies prefer? Yes, definitely they will prefer, Ravi. It's not that they don't prefer it. You just need to prove your skill. The certification shows that you know the skill, right, already. But before that one, people, otherwise you need to prove it yourself separately again. If you have a certification, they may go a little slow, not go hard on you. But if you say that you already have the skill without certification, you need to prove it that you have the skill. Certification shows them that you already have the skill. So whatever the thing you want to do it, you can go for it accordingly. So, okay, so just like COVID-19, Kate is everywhere. That's a good one, Kashmir.
The only difference between COVID-19 and this is you can touch COVID-19 and get sick. You can't touch a Kubernetes. It's all virtual.
That's correct.
I think,
Right. Yep. I think, Bhaskar, I think.
Thanks guys for joining. Hope it was an entertaining session, learning field session. Looking forward for all of you to and most of you to come and join us in this journey. We are done with most of your queries and most of the questions. Having said that, thank you all again for joining and looking forward to a great session. Wish you all a great career ahead and great learning. We will end the session here. Thanks again. Have a good evening, all of you. Take care.